Good morning, Rose. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Deepika? I'm doing
I'm
well.
I'm good. In the throes of SART reporting. There's a big
Mm.
biannual report deadline coming
Mm.
up, as I think you know.
Mhm.
So I think today we're just going to chat a little bit about the biannual report. But before we get started, it is October. It's spooky season, so we got to start with a Halloween icebreaker. So what is like from I guess from your childhood, unless there's like a really fun one from your adulthood, but what was your favorite childhood Halloween costume?
Oh man. Oh, one year I was Raggedy Ann. I'm old, y'all.
Ooh.
Raggedy Ann and Andy were big back in the day when I was young. And I remember, I don't know if my mom made the costume. It was like a homemade costume.
Oh
And
man.
thank you for asking that. I'm having all these great feelings and memories about that day so long ago. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I was Raggedy Ann. Even had the red yarn. oh
Oh
my
my gosh.
oh my God, it was
That's
so fun. And
amazing.
yeah, it was great. Good times. How about
That is
you?
awesome. There's so many. But I will say when I was in eighth grade, and I didn't really have a costume because my mom didn't want me to go to like the boy girl parties yet. So I was kind of like, ugh, whatever. But but then she felt bad. So she was like, okay, we're gonna pull this out. And she went and got a ton of straw and she made me a scarecrow. Like drew on my face. It was actually a pretty solid
I
costume.
love
I had
it.
overalls, flannel shirt, just a nice homemade
I love it.
little fashion thing. So it was a good time.
Scarecrow. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And with the new Wicked movie coming out, I'm excited. So that's kind of in theme with that too.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I can't wait.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, well, we could talk about all the things forever, but I think we'll give the people what they want, and we'll talk a little bit about the biannual report. So, Rose, can you even tell me what I'm talking about? What is the biannual report, and why is it important?
So the biennial report, for those who are like, what in the hell is this? So it is basically a collection of data points that are required by Texas law for SARTs to gather locally, right? So this is as a result of SB 476 that TAASA passed back in the 87th, which is requiring all counties to have SART coverage. In addition to that SART coverage was to turn in a biennial report. So um, every other year, or no, every 2 years, right? Biennial, that's what that means. Okay. And it's in December. December 1. I know biennial throws me off every time. Um, but yeah, it's due in December from the SARTs to the county commissioners. And why it's so important, I think a lot of people get it wrong. I think folks stress about like, oh my God, the numbers are going to be really dire. The numbers are going to look really bad. I want to say that the more honest the numbers are, the better. Like there's nobody that's going to have a ruler or a finger pointing, like finger wagging, I should say, about this. But I think it's so important because it allows the transparency and honesty at the community level to have those conversations. It's kind of a barometer check on what is happening, and the fact that, and it shows that you're making progress by just even acknowledging, you know, we are working on this issue. This is about a violent felony crime in your community. And so this is about working together. It's also a test and a time for a gut check for partners. Like, do we have good partners at the table? Like we
Yeah.
have the statutorily listed partners, but is everyone acting in good faith? Is
Yeah.
everyone here with their egos at the door? Is everyone
Mhm.
here with their profit margin motives, if they have those at the door? Like this is about survivors of sexual assault in the community and how to, as a community, we respond. And it's again a barometer check on that collaborative partnership and how everybody's doing. So it's like numbers and it's partnership check. It's all those things, but what it's not is a finger wagging shame tool. This is about just getting those numbers in. It's so important. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Do you want to add to that before I ask you a
Um,
question?
I think that was great. I also just feel like it's a good, like you said, it's a barometer, it's a temperature check. It's a way for us to see, how things are going. I think the other thing we want to stress, and I think this will be a big focus next year, is like this is kind of the groundwork, like the pieces that are required in the law that we'll talk about in a minute. But we also want people to utilize that and the stuff that they're seeing in this report to actually do the things that your SART can do, right? So if you're seeing data numbers that you're pulling that are like, oh, like we're noticing that, we're getting a lot more investigations in the month of like April and in August. Like, what are kind of the events that are correlated there that we can do like more outreach around that? And our SART can go out into the community and start talking to people. Yes, my cat is also very passionate about what is happening right now. She would also like everyone to be involved in
She
SARTs.
has something to say.
She's probably hearing me talking about it all day, so she's like, "Yeah, SARTs." Um, but anyways, I think just thinking about how we can utilize what the law has put in place to really actually go forth and do these things for survivors with our SART.
Awesome. So my next question for you, Deepika, is what the folks that are watching, the folks, because like I said earlier, this is for the SARTs. The SARTs, this is, the biennial report. There's several layers to this. Layer number one is it is up to the SARTs to ensure that those data points are collected and that they are given over to the county commissioners. That's step number one. By December 1 of every odd year, that is due. So we're coming up. It's already going to be November. So there's that. So can you remind us what needs to be included? What are those data points?
Yes. So there's a couple things. So the biennial report evaluation is really a way for us to kind of see how sexual assault response is actually working in your community, what is going well, what do we need to improve on. So there's a few points that we have required that are required in the law to help us get that information. So we as a state can better support y'all, and y'all know how to better support each other as community partners. And so those are we want to know who is on the team. So having the list of your required partners, as well as the other folks that are attending your SART, needs to be included in the report. We need to have a copy of the written protocols. And so, what exactly it looks like from A to Z when you're serving your survivors, thinking about writing that. And one thing I want to say about protocols, I think it can get really easy to just share what every individual is doing and just their protocol. And what we actually want to do is make this one cohesive protocol, because we know every agency is going to have their own very detailed, lengthy, comprehensive protocols. We want this protocol to be the protocols that what it looks like when we are working together, right? So when a survivor calls law enforcement or calls the hospital, and thinking about those different entry points and what that looks like. Obviously we recommend having an outline and a framework of that. And it can also be a great way to also to show like kind of A to Z. To have a flow chart as well included as part of your protocols to kind of show what it looks like at the different entry points and where survivors go. So that's one of the other things that's required. And then with that, and that's why we talk about having kind of like a comprehensive outline and maybe utilizing flow charts, is then you will evaluate those protocols by doing a case review every 2 years as part of this biannual report. And that means actually taking a case that y'all have seen, preferably in that time period, or at least partly in that time period. We know cases can go way longer than 2 years. So just be thinking about that, but we definitely want it to be at least part of that reporting period if possible. But also we know there's situations where maybe that wouldn't be the case, but for the most part, if we can be in that reporting period, and it gives us the chance to go from A to Z, see this is what we did, this is what worked. So that will be part of the report as well. And then the other last required piece is data points. And so the data points that we want to make sure to have forward in the biennial report include, and I'm just going to read it so I don't get them
Yeah.
wrong, is the number of sexual assault reports received by local law enforcement. And that's all the local law enforcement that are part of your county's SART. The number of investigations conducted as a result of these reports, the number of indictments presented in connection with the report and the deposition of those cases, and then the number of reports of sexual assault where no indictment was presented. So those were the 4 required data points from when we first passed the law. We're going to talk a little bit more about the changes in a minute, but I will say we do have a new data point now from SB 608, and Rose and I will talk about that a little bit more in a second. But and that is now to find out the number of same kits that were left not being picked up by law enforcement at the hospital or medical facility. So that's the last data point that we will now be requiring. So those are the required points. The other thing I just want to point out too is one thing that is in the law is that SARTs need to be doing 4 hours of sexual assault training every year. So the report is a good place to have a section where you say what your trainings that your SART did so that we know that that requirement was completed.
Deepika, I love that. So it's simple. It's like, you have to do your protocols, which sound very easy, right? Just get your protocols done. But that is probably so detailed and
Yes.
involved. And why not show it off? Like you've gone through with your partners about how this is how we do. And then and I love that there's a component of putting a case review through those protocols so that then you can improve them or tweak them. I wouldn't say improve, maybe tweak. And it's also, that's a good check on how are the partners working? Is there a squeaky wheel or is there like a clog somewhere in the system? And then let's talk about it. Cause I know in the original law, there's a conflict resolution, right? And none of us should be afraid of conflict, not like armed conflict, but like conflict as far as like, let's talk through this disagreements or, hey, different perspectives. I think it's a healthy thing to be able to talk about that in a good way. So I love the way, and then the flow chart. So I think this is good. But one more question before we move to the next one, if it's okay, Deepika,
of course.
Is okay. If I am from whatever part of Texas and we just got our SART together a couple months ago.
Yes.
What would be your advice on report? Because it still has to be turned in, right?
December. It still has to be turned in. Okay. My advice would be to be honest. And so we're actually in that situation with a couple counties right now where they were finally able to get going. So what I would say is do the best you can. I think getting data should be able to be possible, right? And one of the things we're recommending for data, which I don't think I mentioned, but we want to do a 2-year period. And since the law was passed or went into effect on September 1st of 2021, what we want to do for this next reporting round and going forward would be getting data from September 1st. So this time, for example, would be September 1st, 2023 to August 31st of 2025. That gives folks enough time to collect that data, get that together. So for folks that are new, I would say get together your data, put together an executive summary that explains this is what our process is looking like. This is how we have gotten together our SART. We have just started meeting. This is our plan going forward, right? So let's say we just started in August. We have 2 more meetings coming up. In that time, we're going to start working on what our mission and vision look like, what our bylaws are. We may not have our protocols done. So for your protocol section, I would explain that this is a work in progress, that you are now meeting, and that this is something that you want to take the time and care for. So this is something that you will be doing at the beginning of the next year, and what that's going to look like, what your process will be for that. Maybe you will go ahead and go to commissioner's court with those protocols early or wait till the next reporting round. But that can be also a conversation, right, that you have with your commissioner's court. We really encourage y'all to get to know your commissioner's court, get involved with them. They're part of this process too. So we want to make sure y'all are communicating. But really the advice is if you don't have it, to explain why.
Awesome. Thank you. I know there's a lot of folks in that position, so I want
Yeah,
to make sure that if they're in that position and they're watching this, to know it's okay,
it's
and
okay.
here's what you can do.
Yeah, and also, and I think, thinking about that too, like for starts that have been, meeting for, a couple years and have more of a process, of course, like there's more of that. They're ready and they can do that and we want to see those, right? But for the folks that are just getting started, we do understand that it can take time. And, we are there to support y'all. And just again, just explain it, explain why it's not there, and that's okay.
Awesome. All right. And that next question, I can't remember what it was. Oh, there.
What are the new requirements for the biennial report? Because we had a busy legislative session. We had a lot of priorities, and there was a few bills, and one that was our priority as well, that really spoke to some changes with SARTs and reporting. So, yeah, Rose, if you want to kind of fill in
Okay.
some blanks, and then I can jump in as well.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think just kind of to bring it back, I think it's good to remind people that, before I do that, some of the new things that came out of law. So not only is SB 476, again, 87th legislative session, mandating SART coverage in all counties. Now we have the 89th legislative session that is basically, saying that, the reports were mandated back then, but what's happening now, what happened this past legislative session that TAASA helped pass in conjunction with the Sexual Assault Survivor Task Force out of the governor's office was HB 47, which required SARTs to submit the biennial report to the task force. So before, there was just you were mandated to do the report and submit it to the county commissioners, and then that was it. So now there's a next step because of HB 47 that your SART has to submit it to the county commissioner by December. The county commissioner needs to review, and then it is their responsibility to submit it to the Sexual Assault Survivor Task Force at the governor's office. And TAASA can help you or help the county commissioners with that. But that is a huge mandate that happened out of this past legislative session that TAASA worked on that to get that through the process. The other thing is HB 608. That was our bill.
And before we jump into HB 608 or SB 608, right? Before we jump into SB 608, I'm just going to jump in on HB 47. So like Rose mentioned, Commissioner's Court will be responsible for submitting the report to the Sexual Assault Survivors Task Force in the governor's office. They must submit it to the task force by February 1st of every even year. So coming up this year, SARTs will submit December 1st, 2025, and then Commissioner's Court will submit to the task force by February 1st, 2026. So there's like a 2-month period for Commissioner's Court to get it together, approve, review, and then send it to the task force. And just to assure the SARTs and the SART coordinators that their responsibility is to get it to Commissioner's Court, it is Commissioner's Court's responsibility to get it to the task force. We actually created a couple cheat sheets, one that really supports the SARTs and how they can get this together and what this looks like for them, what changes, and then one that is really geared toward Commissioner's Court that kind of explains exactly how to submit, whether you are an individual county SART or regional county SART, how to submit it, where to submit it, all the things. I know I'm someone that really likes to have things laid out for me, and I think that's a lot of feedback that we've gotten, honestly, is that the more support and the more kind of direction that we can give to the best of our ability. So we have those for y'all, and we'll make sure to send those along with this video.
Awesome. Yeah. And so that was something that, for HB 47, again, just as a reminder, as a refresher, if you will, that was one of the policy recommendations from the Sexual Assault Survivor Task Force that then TAASA, as a steering committee member and as a nonprofit with unrestricted funds to be able to do legislative work, we were able to get that passed through the legislative session. And that was, again, a sexual survivor task force priority bill item that passes now law. There's a whole bunch in there. So if you have a chance, HB 47, read the whole thing. We passed a lot of things in that.
It's a big bill.
Apparently.
Yeah.
The other one that affects SARTs, y'all, is SB 608, and that's a bill that we passed, that TAASA passed, was one of our priorities, and we were actually able to get that through, to become Texas law. And that basically requires, again, another data point, as Deepika mentioned earlier, in your biennial SART report, to include the number of kits that are past the statutory timeline. So if law enforcement has not picked up the kits, again, SB 8, the Lavinia Masters Act, actually back, taking it way back, that, which is a great law. Again, the Lavinia Masters Act put timelines on these kits, because what we saw was that survivors were going through and getting these forensic exams, and these kits that were sitting at the hospital, just sitting somewhere. No one ever came to pick them up to get them through the process to get tested. So the Lavinia Masters Act put some timelines. You have 7 days to get that kit picked up. And if you're 100 miles away, like in the rural areas, because Texas is big, then you have 14 days. So this, with SB 608, TAASA just wants to know, or not TAASA, the state now just wants to know how many kits are still just sitting and it's past that statutory timeline. And then I think there's also like a DPS report. There's like a statewide electronic tracking system, track it report to the legislature. And so the law also says that they must include those numbers to the legislature as well.
Yes, so the DPS will be reporting it too. And just to remind everyone, so the timeline in which the kits must be picked up, it's 7 days, correct? And then 14 days if they live 100 miles away, 100 miles or more away, correct?
Yes, 100 miles or more.
And Rose, this is something we've been talking about. As far as who is providing this data point, I'm thinking, most likely it'll be the hospitals or the same nurse representative who kind of knows whether the kits or not are picked up. But if for some reason we're not able to get the information, is that what you would recommend? Or should we be recommending law enforcement track it, or a combination of both?
So, you're asking for locally for SARTs to get that number?
Yes.
Oh yeah. If I was in charge or the presiding officer at a SART, I think that's what I would do. I would go to where are the same exams being conducted and talk to them. And I would also even have a conversation, because hopefully those are happening with the SART, with the law enforcement partners, to say, okay, what do we have here? That's also another little accountability, love and accountability. We're not trying to call people out, but it's like, hey, have you picked these up? Because we have to put this number, in here. So yeah, that's what I would do, is I would go to those who are providing that forensic exam, and then also with law enforcement. It'd be great, like now that this is a new data point, moving forward after this report, after everyone's done with their report, to have this as a standing, item on the agenda to talk about how are we with these kits? Where are they? Have they been picked up? Kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. And my hope is that, in SART meetings, folks are talking about data and doing data shares, even for the data that's not necessarily required, right? But that we're hearing, and one of the things, actually I'll touch on it as we go forward, but yeah, just thinking about how we can continue to share these data points. That's such a good reminder for folks that we can be talking about this year round and checking in about these points, even when it's not time for reporting.
That's right.
All right.
Is that me?
No, I think we're on to our last question. Which, yes. Rose, you can ask me, because I'm happy.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry, we're still getting our, news anchor kind of legs underneath us. Okay, Deepika, what support will TAASA be given in the next 6 weeks prior to the big due date. We should have like a big party.
I
Let's all meet at a bar
know.
somewhere, December 1, after you turn in the
Yeah.
report.
No, we totally should be doing that. So yes, I'm like, yes, we should
Or
throw a
coffee
party.
shop.
Should we all get coffee? Any excuse to go to the beach, you know. But yes, so there will be a lot of support given. We are going to be starting weekly office hours starting next week. And the week leading up to the report, I will be doing daily. We will
Okay.
also be doing SART coordinator chats. Um, we'll have one next week and one in November. And those will be really focused on the biannual report. And those are for the coordinators and presiding officers only. And then office hours are open to anyone. So if you're seeing this and you'd like to know when office hours are, please feel free to email. There's going to be an email that shows up in a little bit. Our SART at TAASA.org email, and you can email there and I can make sure to get those office hours to you. There it is. Beautiful. So those are some of the things that we have support. We already have a biannual framework one pager that kind of goes into the report, what we need, it updates with these new requirements from the last legislative session. And I know for some people, like looking at a long 14, 15 page document is not their jam. So this is kind of that one page, one stop shop. Here you go. And then we also have our biannual framework guide that is being updated and will be on our website in the next couple days. And that just also is going to include the new bills, a little bit more insight that we learned from the report, kind of streamline a few things, include dates, include how you can structure your data, just to make it, a little bit easier for y'all if you need a little bit support in that way. And then we look forward to getting all the reports again. Last time as folks were sending it to commissioners courts, they also sent it to TAASA at SART at TAASA.org. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to that. And if you need any one-on-one support, you can email me or email the SART at TAASA.org email address, and I can schedule a one-on-one with you. I'm doing a ton of TAs. If you would like me to either read your current report or if you've turned in a report before and would like to review it in the next few weeks to help you get ready to structure your next report, I'm really happy to do that. We're really excited to see how this goes the second time around. We had a really good turnout last time. We got 70 reports, about 119 counties. And so we're hoping to see that increase with this next reporting. As we know, there's more counties that have SARTs. So we're looking forward to it. And thank you all for being here with us today. Rose, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I think the last thing, just a reminder, y'all, that, as Deepika mentioned, all the different ways that you can receive support, from her, from TAASA, because at the end of the day, this is for us, for TAASA, this is about survivors. When someone makes that grueling decision, because, it takes time for someone to say, okay, this happened to me, processing what happened, and then coming forward to a system. Like I need everyone, for those of you that are not in the work, to understand just the sheer energy and grueling, like back and forth in their mind that went on for them to make this step. So it's incumbent upon us to have a response, to match that in the most positive way. And I also just wanted to say that's why we're here. To be honest, like, TAASA, in my first session as CEO, that was the 86th session, we were able to pass a bill, and actually was Representative Donna Howard. Want to give her flowers, give her a shout out, because it was her idea for the Sexual Assault Survivor Task Force. And I want to thank her for pulling TAASA in on that. That was through Chris Kaiser. For those of you that have been around for a while, he was our policy director. He and the team worked that through, him and Liz Boyce, actually. Liz Boyce, both of them are now gone. I mean, they're still alive. They're just not with TAASA. They're doing great things where they are. But I will forever be thankful to them, because we passed that HB 1590 to even have the Sexual Task Force exist. So TAASA did that. And then 87th, SB 476, that's mandating SART coverage. TAASA did that. So that's what, that's what we do. And now 89th, we have those two prior bills that TAASA passed connecting, in that the reports have to be sent to the task force. So things are working in the right direction. This is all about in service to survivors of sexual assault in our state of Texas, and making sure that we have accountability for perpetrators, and making sure that it's a public safety issue. So thank you all. For those of you that are on the SART, I know it's not easy. I know it's another meeting that you have to attend. Thank you for doing that. And Deepika, thank you for your brilliance and so your generosity and just sharing all the work that you've done in the past with the state. So just thank you.
Oh, thank you, Rose. And, thank you for always centering survivors. And just remember, we are here for you. Don't ever hesitate to reach out, and have a wonderful day.